everyone, I'm Nishtha.
I'm Sukanya.
And we welcome you to our podcast, Intersectional Feminism Desi Style, brought to you by Feminism in India.
Through the course of this season of the podcast, we have been exploring various components of popular culture. And today we would like to engage with perhaps the first thing that comes to mind when we think of popular culture with a critical lens: sexist tropes and item numbers. Most of our mainstream entertainment rides on the objectification of women, and item numbers are the most glamorized, sexed up tropes used in films to further this gaze. Now, the problem is not essentially about a woman who owns her sensuality and takes the screen by storm with her presence, but the problem often lies at the purpose of fitting in something like that in a film with absolutely offensive lyrics and gaze. So let's unpack the layers of male gaze, sexism, and talk about item numbers and ask ourselves, who badnaam Munni after all?
Today, we have the great honor of having with us Smriti Kiran, who's the artistic director of MAMI and the Mumbai Film Festival. She's a journalist, creative producer, author with over 2 decades of experience in the television and film industry. For the last 4 years, she's been the creative director of MAMI, the academy that organizes the GeoMami Mumbai Film Festival. She wrote the screenplay book of the record-breaking film Three Idiots and produced the screenplay books of the extraordinary Gurudutt. But what we love most about her is she's so unapologetically feminist that it just brings us inner happiness. Smriti, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Listen, first of all, I want to thank both of you because the honor is mine. And this doesn't feel like, it's like I'm invited to an audio party with two really cool people that I've always wanted to interact with. So this is going to be fun. So Kanya, Nishta, you both are rock stars. You're doing amazing work. And I'm hoping that after this podcast, you people will pack your bags, buy a ticket to Mumbai and come and stay with me so that we can do this in person.
Okay, now we have that officially on record. And also, Sukanya, I'm putting in a formal petition to change, like we have to stop calling this podcast and start calling it audio party. Like that's a formal petition.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
Done.
I can't wait to have this conversation now and then maybe in person as well. So, Smriti, you've been the artistic director of the MAMI Film Festival for over 5 years. So, can you tell us a little bit more about this mammoth project and why it's so important for us to have a homegrown film festival in India?
The thing is that, like the standard answer I always give, and I'm just going to start with that, is that India is they're actually, if you look at the heart of the matter, there are only two religions in India, which is cinema and cricket. So it is almost inconceivable for me to kind of believe that we don't have a film festival, or we didn't have a film festival with a global, imprint. I think the reason it's important, though, is that it gives you an instant platform to amplify new voices, discover talent. That is absolutely homegrown because this is happening in India. A film festival that's happening in India is obviously going to put artists from across the film cultures in the country. Um, you know, you'll get center stage. Unlike maybe film festivals that belong to other countries or other regions. So it is very important to have that kind of a platform within the country where all of this converges. Um, the other thing is that any kind of event like that is eventually about community building. Creating an experience where people can come together, people can discover each other, people can enjoy, good cinema, good conversation, get to meet people. I think what happens with creators is that when you have an on ground entity like that, it's a great leveler, right? Film festivals are also a very pure space to engage, where the artist is engaging with the people who are consuming what he or she has made. So I feel that the moment you have a platform like that, and people can own it, and people know that this is where we can go, we will find a place where our voices can be amplified, where we can get to know more people. Um, it is it is actually I discovered this when we started to do the word to screen market as part of MAMI, um, because there was no space where cinema and literature came together. And when we started to do that, I realized the importance of creating a platform where annually people can meet and people know that, okay, fine, if we go here, these are the kind of people that we can get to see. It's an annual catch up, and it's the best way to connect. So this is the reason I feel that you need to do this, because culture in our country in any case is the last priority. So
Yeah.
when you have spaces like this, it is also a very safe space where artists can really be who they are.
So Kanya very correctly pointed out that sometimes, that when we talk about things like item numbers, the conversation becomes very difficult, because on the one hand, you're also like, okay, what is the problem if a woman is being sexual, or what is the problem if she's being sensuous? But let's face it, the most popular item numbers that we've seen till now, from the way they are picturized, from the settings in which they are put, from the lyrics, it's all catering to the male gaze. So anyone who tells me right now that item songs are being put in movies to empower female sexuality, I'll take that with like a handful of salt, actually.
No,
So I
you should just tell them to sit down and start having a conversation with them and tell them, okay, now justify this statement that you're making.
right.
Elaborate.
Right. So I wanted to
How?
ask you, like, but how do we actually show, or how do we subvert this gaze that happens, while also not like demonizing women's sexuality? How do you walk that very tightrope?
First of all, I feel that that argument will hold good only if we look at desire on an equal plane.
Right.
First of all, item numbers do not empower a woman at all. It caters to exactly the purpose of women as assigned, described by men, which is either to titillate or to cook, right? Cook, clean, nurture, and then, of course, be this object of desire. If you are telling me that item numbers are about sexuality across the board, then why don't we have item numbers with boys in it? Because I can tell you, I have equal amount of capacity to look at a man with lust.
Yeah.
Why am I? Why are only women dancing? The thing is, the problem is that female desire, as in the desire that women feel, is has no expression in cinema at all. It's only men wanting us. Like, if you're looking at an item number, first of all, why is it called an item number? What does it mean? I don't even know that. Like, and moreover, the thing is that I would like to know which woman dances like that in real life. Either you bring about something organic in there. Like, I don't understand. See, I have a whole playlist that has a lot of item numbers or fast numbers from movies that I walk to. Okay, I don't listen to them for pleasure, but they get my blood pumping. But I'm not responding to lyrics. I'm actually not responding to the choreography. I'm responding to the music.
Yeah.
The music is doing that to me, but it's not the lyrics of the song, or I'm not thinking about how it's being picturized while I'm walking to that. So the problem lies in the visuals that are there on screen and the lyrics that have been matched to that music. um I find it very offensive that people are even trying to justify this.
Yeah.
If you put it out there and that is your sensibility and that is your lens on women, then please at least respect us and own it, that
Right.
this is what we've done. uh, it's 100 crore, it's a 200 crore film. We need to titillate the front benchers, we need to titillate everyone. So we've decided to over sexualize, hyper sexualize a woman. She's standing in the middle of all these men and they're looking at her this way, and that is our purpose. I would still be okay with that, because there'll be an element. मतलब हालत इतनी बुरी हो गई है कि okay, somebody at least says that, then
Yeah.
I would be like, okay, at least you're not disrespecting me by gaslighting me,
Yeah.
right? But otherwise, an item number, I am assuming, to my understanding, is about desire. It's about this thing. Then I need to see men on screen as well. But the thing is, women cannot want men, right? Men
Yeah.
have to want women, and women just have to act coy till they give in because the guy has made so much of an effort. Basically, he's a stalker,
Yeah.
and eventually the girl gets convinced that this is the path that I should have taken. Man, I've just taken too long to kind of respond to this lovely person's overtures. So that is my take on this, because I don't understand it any other way.
I'll
Like,
tell you.
imagine कि
Yeah, I'll tell.
मेरे घर के बाहर एक लड़का खड़ा हुआ है, I've opened the door, I would fucking be like so scared. I would be like, oh my god, you are going to, like, 3 years into this relationship, if I was to say yes, I have no idea what your meter on boundaries is going to be. What were you saying? Sorry, I
No,
interrupted.
no, no, no. So I was just saying, like, because now we've become so in tune to kind of like anticipating responses to what we are saying. I feel like somebody will say, "Nahi, aisa to nahi hai." You've recently had the hookup song where Tiger Shroff was sexualized, or you have that Dostana scene with the John Abraham and the boxers and all of that going on. So it's not like men are not shown as objects of pleasure, but I think it's what you, like, you used a term, you said as much. If you look at the
Yeah.
ratio, that is so skewed that it in itself points out like how we are talking about this. Like, we were recently having a conversation on, like, even how you introduce women characters. Why do you have to introduce them from their butt? Like, like shakal hai uski. So it's just like, yeah, like I agree, the ratio is so skewed that one can't, like, your argument doesn't hold.
I can
Absolutely.
tell you, I can count on my fingers. Okay, like, I can count on my fingers, 2 or 3 times is the only time I've seen pure desire in a woman's eyes for a man, where she wants him. It's not, I love you, I want to have your babies.
Yeah.
It's like the nether regions have been
Yeah.
attacked.
Yeah.
Uh, that kind of desire I've only seen twice or thrice in a Hindi film, where a woman is
And
looking at
then
a man and sexually.
also, is that acceptable? Like, I'm thinking of the example of, it was a
Of
Rani
course, it's
Mukherjee film.
not.
Now I'm
She's a
forgetting the
slut
name.
for thinking
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there was that Rani Mukherjee film, like, I think it was called Ayya or something like that, which
It
was
was called
pretty
Aya.
much. And
Yeah.
was it
Yes.
no, Rani Mukherjee, अरे वो तो पागल है, leave her. हाँ, but when the same thing, when when like your Shahid Kapoor and all will come on a bike chasing, that's romantic. When Rani Mukherjee does it, she's a crazy slut. So yeah, I feel you.
So, as you interact with a lot of different content as part of your work and even otherwise, and you are someone who is really acutely aware of the problematic gender tropes in all these spaces, professional, personal, artistic, everywhere. And you're also very vocal about your feminist politics on social media. On one side, on one hand, you have all this awareness and this, this politics and everything intact, and then there are item numbers that we sort of dance to in our private spaces, or we walk to, and then we're suddenly in this conflict of, oh, is this feminist, is there a feminist way of enjoying popular art? So I really want to ask you, does that, does being a feminist and being in a space and dealing with popular culture that's so sexist make you alienated? How do you deal with this conflict of being feminist and being in this space?
I'm kind of like a particular age. I'm 46. At the time that I was growing up, uh, I grew up in a house where I think I was the center of attention and not my brother, you know. So my lens was always very different. Like, I never had that thing where I had to hold back or I had to do anything differently, or I wasn't getting, in fact, I think I was getting more, you know. And So for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, what feminism is, and feminism at that point of time was a very bad word. But I'm only talking to you like, out of just sheer memory of how I have pieced this together. I remember that feminism used to be a very bad word. People used to say, oh, bra burning, this, that, and the other. Oh, tum to feminist ho, tum to aise ho. I never faced that because we were not using the word feminism only because it had become such a bad word. Like suddenly, feminists were supposed to be the men hating, not marrying, childless, um, sort of strange type of women who were almost like modern day witches. That
Yeah.
kuch aur hi hai, right? Then when there was a statement that came, Emma Watson had said something about feminism, and the whole word started to get reintroduced, and she got trolled. I
Yeah.
remember she got trolled, and I don't think there was too much social media at that point of time, but she got trolled in news and things like that. And that word came back into everyone's consciousness and it started to get explored. So I feel that I'm a work in progress feminist. I keep learning new things every day because misogyny and patriarchy and the narrative around women is so deep rooted, it's so entrenched. So I feel that number one, you have to consistently, at least that's my process, you have to consistently remind yourself that you are living with a lot of biases. You yourself do not know the biases that you're living with. So, first of all, you need to question yourself, right? Secondly, you have to stop questioning other women consistently because there are people who turn around and say that, they'll say things like, oh, I'm an all-rounder, I also raise kids, I also do this, I also do that. I find that a toxic narrative. I'll tell you why I find it toxic, not because I don't have children, this, that, and the other. See, I explained myself right now. I just gave you an explanation. That is also toxic. But the reason it's toxic is because suddenly you're more of a person and more of a woman if you play five roles. So you've given yourself no space. You've
Yeah.
suddenly, there's a superhero narrative around you. She's a superwoman. Do we ever say that about a man? Have you ever said that about a man? Oh my God, he's so amazing. He does this, he does this, he does this. No,
I
he
think
gets to
male
be amazing if
superheroes
he's
are
great.
their superpowers are also very different, Smriti. I feel that when we look
That's
at
true.
male
You're
superheroes,
right.
even in popular culture, the superhero's job is to save the world. They have larger pursuits. Women are
Yeah.
always superheroes when they can do domestic work and do little bit of professional work and also juggle a child or two maybe. That's their superpower. But when it's a man, the superhero has a larger canvas. He's saving Gotham, and he's like doing a lot of things and helping children and then shining the light in the sky and everyone's looking at it and clapping. I'm sorry, Batman fans, but
No, it's true. Because the thing is that uh, somehow, if we are not doing the five other roles that are assigned to us by society, we're doing less. So if I'm great at my job, that's not enough. अरे आप तो अच्छा है ना, आप तो सिंगल हैं, तो अब आप और क्या करोगे? अगर आप अपना काम भी अच्छा नहीं कर रहे तो फिर तो आप मर ही जाओ. So the thing is, the problem is that we are not allowed to be average. And I just leave me alone. Let me live this life. I don't want to fit into these roles. So I feel that the way I process it, I look at my biases. That what is it that I'm afflicted with? I try and keep my anger in check because it's infuriating. Because women are the carriers and executors of patriarchy. So I meet a lot of gaslit women, and I feel bad for them, but I also get very angry with them because I was like, यार तुम तो कम से कम देख लो
Yeah.
ना कि क्या हो रहा है. अभी you can't fight on all fronts. And the third thing is that yes, it's a so Kanya, like you said, it's a dichotomy because if I there is, if I'm dancing to a particular thing, I'm endorsing it. I might be privately doing it, but I also go to parties where I do it. So one thing at a time. अब तुमने मेरी प्लेलिस्ट डिस्ट्रॉय कर दी.
Okay, so allow me a little bit of self indulgence, huh? But the thing is that we are almost halfway through recording of the podcast, and I've been waiting to ask this question to one of our guests, and I'm so glad that I get to ask you this question, and I'm so excited about it, Sukanya, that I'm including you and me also in it. Okay, we also have to answer it. So the question is, what is the most annoying sexist trope that our films employ? I'm going to
Oh,
start. I have so much to say
go
about
ahead.
this. Okay, so I will talk about my matlab, it pisses me off to a level that I cannot even speak about. It's the Madonna whore dichotomy trope. ये अच्छी औरत है, ये गंदी औरत है, ये घर संभालती है, ये alcohol पीती है. So just this, and I mean the fact that we're still doing, you'd think that this is like a relic of the 70s where they are like, oh, Amitabh Bachchan has to choose between these two women. No, Saif Ali Khan is also choosing between Diana Penty and Deepika Padukone. So let's stop acting like this is. So this one just because the point is like, so like, I mean, so the whole point of the podcast, and I'm going on a little bit, is also to talk about how this then affects the real world, right? Because this is what leads to a victim blaming narrative. If you drink and if you go to parties, then you have what's coming to you. But that's
Yeah,
not
you do
true.
nothing
Like
for it. Yeah.
even if we believe for a minute that this is true, I'll take it. But it's not true. Women being unsafe is a reality whether they are stepping out of the house at 8 in the morning or 11 o'clock at night. That's something we have to deal with, whether they are wearing a sari and a burqa or whether they're wearing a mini skirt. So
And
this
whether they
thing,
even have to step out of their houses to be unsafe,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
as problematic as that.
So for me, the Madonna whore dichotomy gets my goat like nothing else. So Kanna, I'm throwing
So,
it to you. Your turn.
yeah, so yeah, oh my God, I have a laundry list of things that annoy me. And recently, I think in recent times, I watch very few films made by men because I've felt this alienation as a woman. I watch a film and I feel, where am I? Is there anything at all that I can relate to in this film? And I think the thing that annoys me the most at this point, among others, of course, is how suddenly there is a woman who is presented as capable, she has a professional thing going on or whatever, and then the hero steps in and he will correct her and tell her, oh, you're okay, you're great, but you know what, this is something that you're doing wrong, let me teach you. So there's always this, the entire heroism or the character establishment of a man is always rooted on him ousting the capabilities of the woman. It's always happening at the expense of the intelligence of women, and that leads to very serious consequences in the sense that we look at it and we by default feel that, oh, I have been given a promotion. Can I handle this? Am I not supposed to run this by my male colleague? Am I not supposed to run this by, so we're constantly seeking validation, which leads us to being gaslit in relationships and professional spaces, even trolls. If it's a man, we feel that, oh, maybe I should engage with him because he might know better, and that's damaging all of us right from a very young age, and it's just shifting our worldview, and that's something that really, really, really annoys me. Over to you, Smriti.
First of all, the two of you are bang on. I feel those are two such annoying things. And the film that Nishta was talking about, actually, I went to watch the film with my cocktail with my father. And I remember that that weekend, Papa was in town, and we used to go and watch movies before Mommy happened to me. I used to have time, so I would take my father, and I remember that was the weekend that there was Bol Bachchan and there was Cocktail, and we watched Bol Bachchan first. Dad was bored out of his brains, but I can only watch popular films with him. He likes very select independent cinema, which he can kind of relate to. The rest of it is very boring for him. And then we went to watch Cocktail, and my father had a full reaction. Now, I'll tell you what the problem with Cocktail was. The problem is not a man choosing between Diana Painty's character and Deepika's character, right? The problem is that he doesn't even think that he should have a conversation about this, and the lens of the director.
Yeah.
So that was my issue with that film, and I was very rankled because I loved the performance. Deepika's performance is flawless.
Brilliant.
She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's a very enjoyable film, but the politics of the film is very dodgy because And I also feel that three of the coolest men in the industry turned around and made this.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, come on. तुम कैसे कर सकते हो? Like Homi Adjania, Imtiaz Ali, Karan Johar. So at the end of the day, I feel, I mean, I would like to believe that they somewhere felt that, this would be popularly, this might be a little more. I mean, I'm attributing this to them because, Veronica's character was so nicely portrayed. I feel if there was one conversation in that entire film, it would have corrected the politics of that film, where he could have had that conversation with her and said that, listen, I've had a great time. They, we both had this relationship, but I've fallen in love with your friend. And I'm really sorry. But I think I owe this to you to talk to you. But, they made her look like the villain
Yeah.
for feeling jealous, for feeling irritated that, listen, we were sleeping with each other.
Yeah.
So, in a way, you've told the entire country who would watch that film that if a woman is having sex with you, but there is no commitment between the two of you, and तुमने कुछ ऐसे decide किया था कि ऐसे casual हो सकता है, so it's okay to treat her like this. She needs to understand when you fall in love with this woman who's picking up the laundry and making chapatis and doing all of this. So that is what you've told everyone,
Yeah.
that you don't have to treat her with respect.
Bang on.
But otherwise, look at the character. She's the one who goes and spends time with his mother, leaving them to dance. She's the one who does all of this. But wo to kulta hai, because she's drinking, she's partying, she looks hot, she wears these clothes. So therefore, I'm saying that for me, I got very, very, very offended by the film because I felt this didn't go in the direction in which the characters were.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you peel the layers, it does everything right.
Correct.
And it could have been a very good film where it said that ho sakta hai. Men are also equally gaslit, in certain ways. They're a product of their conditioning. He might have fallen in, but izzat to do na kam se kam. A conversation karo, izzat do. Don't take this so casually. So I feel it is also this lens. It was very damaging.
Yeah.
And I feel that ambition in women is portrayed so badly. When you're ambitious, to make them wo ban jate ho. Like, there'll be, like how Nishta was saying now, that if you're smoking, you're doing this. There would always be this character in Subhash Ghai films where she would be sitting and she said, Malhotra ji, are we going hunting this weekend? मतलब वो एक वो औरत है जो सिर्फ बुरे काम करेगी बैठकर, घर तोड़ने वाली. So my point is, ये क्या हो रहा है? Like, what are we doing? So हमने ये बना दिया है कि if you're a woman on screen, either a man will come into your life and reform you and tell you what the right path is, right? Second, if you're an ambitious woman, you're missing out on taking care of kids, dude. You haven't taken out socks for your husband.
Yeah.
What are you doing? How
What fun
dare
are you
you run a
having not
bank?
changing diapers? That's where all the fun is.
Yeah, that's where all the see. Also, I'll tell you something. I say this with a lot of like the two of you, with a lot of respect for mums, for parents, for everybody. The reason we have to justify what we are saying is because people are stupid. Because they will turn around and say, "ये तीनों बैठ के बातें कर रही हैं." They don't know anything. Mothers do this unpaid labor. Of course, mothers do this unpaid labor. But look at the narrative that gets you into motherhood. You are given sainthood, and then you have to live up to that sainthood. अरे ये तो माँ है, माँ का दिल, माँ का खाना, माँ की बातें. मतलब the mother is like now not living her own life. She might want to throw the kid, like just fling him or her. But you can't be normal once you're a mother. You are put on a pedestal. So somehow a lot of women feel that if they become mothers, you know, it will complete them. Or this is how, like, every mother that you will meet is so guilty about doing something for herself.
But I think that's also the reason why they are actually fairly isolated. I mean, there is no conversation on postpartum depression. It's unthinkable in our country. Like I've known people who have said things like, "Oh, why does she have depression? Her kid is so cute." अरे भैया ऐसे थोड़ी होता है. Like you can't you can't make a call on that. And so the thing that you said is that, again, it's that pedestal. You have only two ways to look at women. You either put them on a pedestal, or you have expectations of them that are unmatchable, or
To the
you
un
extent of you are a mother and you're sitting inside your house and you get up with this intuition that मेरा बेटा आ रहा है helicopter में.
like everybody has an opinion on motherhood. Everybody also has an opinion on singlehood.
हाँ.
Like, for example, I will just give you like a random example, nothing to do with like, just sharing. Like, how do you tell someone that, you have all these dating apps, right? So if you're on a dating app, it says, do you want a like relationship, casual, BFF, SAB hair category, social, you know? So now when you write casual, everybody thinks you're down to fuck. That's not what you mean.
yeah,
तो मेरे को तो 10 साल हो गए कैजुअल एक्सप्लेन करते हुए
yeah,
वो ही नहीं एक्सप्लेन हो रहा कि अ वुमन हु वांट्स अ कैजुअल रिलेशनशिप वाओ ये तो हमारे साथ सोएगी नहीं ऐसा भी होगा बट दैट डजंट मीन दैट the path to that is like casual can also mean that you might not want a conventional commitment
yeah,
but you do want companionship and respect and casual can also mean that you want to cruise along something that nobody in India when they are dating does.
yeah,
So, therefore, I'm saying that at the end of the day, even very small things, we're talking about big ideas. But if you get down to like the smaller things, you will see if you were to break down little things, you like something heinous will happen to a woman. And the first thing, उसको क्या जरूरत थी वहां जाने की? ये आपका
yeah.
पहला ख्याल है.
Hmm.
आप ये नहीं आपको आउटरीच नहीं हो रहा कि इसने ऐसा क्यों किया है. Let's ask all the questions to this particular human being who's done this. आप 8 सवाल पूछोगे about what the woman did. वहां क्यों गई? क्या जरूरत थी? ये करना ही नहीं चाहिए था. So it's, you have no way out. So sometimes I look at smaller stuff and I feel that, that is where it comes from because that is the foundation for everything. Like, oh, acha, but why do we need to have a woman in a writing room? Why does that need to happen? Because you've already thought कि caliber नहीं होएगा इसका. कि हमें ये करने की क्या जरूरत है? कि do we need to address this?
Absolutely.
So, guys, it's
Yeah,
a very long, winding. It's like one of those things. And whatever said and done, I'll tell you something. You need more people. You need more women in positions of power. Like some of them become like men, which is very sad because they start to. उनको ऐसा लगता है कि अगर हम आदमियों की तरह behave करेंगे तो we are cutthroat. You
And we
know.
also don't have any examples of how power can be used to reduce empathy gaps. We're used to this masculine execution of power itself as a concept. It always has to be hierarchical. We cannot ever think of a lateral power structure. Even that we have to
Yeah.
teach ourselves the way we've executed power. But now that Smriti, you've spoken about how it's important to have women in writing rooms. Personally, at least for me, while watching Selin Sama's Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I watched the film and it's a beautiful lesbian romantic companionship that's reflected on screen, and I felt it's not sensationalized. It's not hypersexualized. It's not made for anybody else's gaze, but to tell the story of two women who've fallen in love. And it's a heartbreaking story. It's beautiful, and I watched that and I felt, oh, this is probably what the female gaze looks like when you're trying to tell a story. So, Smriti, how important do you think that women occupying positions of power, women telling stories, women telling their the same stories from their perspective, and generally just more women getting into decision making when it comes to creative endeavors or politics or policy, how far do you think that can really change the narrative for all of us? And how far do you think it's going to be more representative, comprehensive, and sort of experiential?
It can change everything. You know, you can apply that to all minority communities. Women might not be a minority in terms of numbers, but they are definitely a minority in terms of representation, in terms of how important their views are in the scheme of things, in terms of it finding outlet on screen. So the reason it can change everything is because I feel that when a woman is in the room, at least 95% of the times, she's going to think of five different things that men haven't thought of. She's going to look at, how, like, what, see, men are allies, the ones who are feminists. They're allies. They want a equal world, right? But the fear that a woman feels when she's coming back home at night alone is not a fear that they can feel. They have no comprehension of that. They have no comprehension of uh, what sexual assault feels like in terms of, because it's not as if men are not sexually assaulted, but women are sexually assaulted far more than men are.
They don't get the
We don't,
constant vigil, like
they,
they need to be
yeah,
constantly vigilant, like there was this message that I saw somewhere on Twitter or someplace where they were talking about how a man is coming home after a late night party, and he's taken a cab, and the his partner, this woman, has asked him, was there a lot of heavy vehicle traffic on the road, and he said, I don't know, I fell asleep. And she was like, this is a luxury that we can never afford to have. You cannot
never, no,
fall
no, my
asleep in
God,
a
you can't.
cab at night. No, even in the day. You're always,
Even in the day,
you're texting a friend, or you've given your live location to somebody else. So that sort of vigil. Yeah, absolutely.
you know, how rape scenes are shot,
Yeah.
it should not titillate you at all. It should put the fear of God in you. It should disgust the crap out of you. If you're titillated by it, then there is something wrong in the way it's being shot, in the way it's been portrayed, because it's not sexual at all.
Yeah.
So,
It isn't
therefore,
about sex, it's
anyone who,
about power.
it's about power. And the fact of the matter is that the more women come in terms of policy, in terms of, deciding the stories, you will also see that women of a certain age group are not there only. They're invisible. Nobody wants to make a story about somebody who's over 40. You not find actors. In fact, I know so many amazing 40-year-olds who are actors, and they are offered roles of a 55-year, 60-year-old person.
They are offered the role of a 55-year-old's mother. So
Yeah,
I like,
Given that
so
age,
I
don't serve a lot of purpose, even societally also. That's why they become so invisible, because they cannot reproduce, they cannot titillate you, you cannot use them in any way to draw crowds or to
that's because you think they can't titillate you. I'll tell you why.
exactly,
Because
exactly.
the thing is that you've stopped, in a way, you have said, like, the popular narrative is कि यार वो बूढ़ी हो गई है, you know, अब वो ऐसे हो गई है, तो तुमने उनको सेक्सुअल कैटेगरी से निकाल दिया. लाइक हम वो कंट्री है जिसमें lipstick under my burqa was banned because a 65-year-old woman can't have sexual fantasies because she should be sitting and doing satsang.
yeah.
She cannot fantasize about anyone. So you've basically put these embargoes. Like, this is how serious it is, because somebody has decided that, oh my God, ये कैसे दिखा रहे हैं? This is absolutely wrong. So you basically put one entire category of people out of the sexual spectrum,
Correct.
that this is not something that they should be even thinking about. Their pursuits are different. Their lens is different. They should be taking care of kids. They should be doing something else. They should be doing, they cannot be thinking like this, because We have such little space for the personal. And look at how women are trolled. Older women are trolled when they date younger men or
Yeah.
marry younger men, right? There is um, such a terrible lens on that. So, the judgment spectrum on what women do, and if there are so, like, look at, people are offended if a woman is asking for her right. She is difficult.
In the spirit of talking about community, and although I'm breaking my heart to end the episode, because this feels like I can talk to both of you all afternoon, and just like I'm happy to just be on this call talking, but just to kind
Same
of
here, I have to say.
yeah, just to kind of wrap up the episode on a happier note, because everybody likes that in an ending. What do you think is a recent feminist victory of pop culture? What is something that just like a trend, a scene, a film, something that you were like, although you have mentioned some great positive examples, you talked about that film also, but something that made you feel like, oh, that's good. We need more of that.
I think conversations have increased. I'm talking about meaningful conversations, and not just token conversations, right? Secondly, the thing is that I think there is a real, I know it's not happening in a very big way, but I also feel that women need to realize their own power. We are all, you're 23, you're going to keep growing, as a professional. And there will come a time where you will have the power to hire, and you will have the power to make choices where you will make real difference in what you choose to focus on. And that is where the change lies, because it's a slow change where small little things need to be changed. The problem is that whenever we think about change, we think about sweeping change. We want to change the world, but the world doesn't change like that. It changes with small things. How many people on the team do we have who are women? How many people in the team do we have who are women who have kids? Because those are the first people to drop off the grid. The first thought that will come into someone's mind, including mine, is going to be shit यार, वो तो घर में busy हो जाएगी, you know वो लेट नाइट कैसे करेगी? तो उसके जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज तो इतने से रह गए ना, तो आप उसको कैसे एक्सट्रैक्ट करोगे? उसको ग्रिड पे कैसे रखोगे? So I feel that the positive change that is coming is this awareness. Like, we are there right now. So therefore, I feel that if we start to at least question our biases, and within our ambit of power, make small little changes to what we do, that will become a collective wave. And 20 years down the line, you will see how things have begun to move. And we need to do this with research, with a concerted effort. I say this all the time, that if you're a woman and gender equality is not your top priority, then you're very misinformed. It has to be, as a woman, that has to be your top priority, because you might think you're not affected by it. You might think that it's not touched you, but it has touched you. If you think hard enough about it, you will know this. आप opportunity नहीं दोगे, if a woman is not even, if she doesn't even have access to education, तो वो आएगी कैसे? So, when people turn around and say कि यार we don't have so many women filmmakers, what have you done to make sure that you pull them in? I can also shrug my shoulders and say I can't do anything, yaar. And when a woman filmmaker is, I mean, again, sorry to go on and on about this, but when a woman filmmaker gets selected for some film festival, right? And there are 10 male filmmakers, and there's one female filmmaker. तो आपको ये चाहिए कि फीमेल फिल्म मेकर ने जो पिक्चर बनाई है, वो पिक्चर होनी चाहिए केन एनेबल्ड, राइट? वो मीडियोकर फिल्म नहीं हो सकती। वो फिल्म होनी चाहिए in some other zone because आपको opportunity मिली है, you're a woman with a vagina, हमने आपको opportunity दी, आप कुछ बनाओ, लेकिन आप बनाए जा रहे हो बेशरम, राधे, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है। तो मुझे करने दो यार, आराम से, just let me go to work, let me make my mistakes. Please do not expect that I'm going to make films or I'm going to do things which are just, like, why do we have to do award winning things, yeah? You look at a female, like, why can't I be a slacker chick who's just bumbling along,
Right.
So I want to have the freedom to bumble along, yeah,
Right. Right.
just like everybody else does. That's it.
Right. So, like Nishta said, wrapping this episode, I mean, this has been a very,
I'm
very
so
cathartic.
sorry. I have just gone on and on and on.
No, oh my God,
I
This has been
please.
so cathartic, and this has also been so much in the space of sisterhood. And I mean, there's so many feelings that I have right now wrapping this episode up. But here's hoping that these thoughts and these conversations resonate in the minds of those who listen to us, and here's hoping that they also sort of reflect in, they take forward these conversations in their private spaces, and here's hoping that we continue to have these conversations, and here's also hoping that people just let women be.
So, Kanya Nishta, first of all, I just want to thank you for inviting me to this. I love what you do and just keep doing this because you have no idea how many people you're helping and how much hope you give to everybody. I feel invigorated after having this conversation. And I think for people like me and a lot of other people, having conversations like this and talking to people like you is just a reminder that we've got to be just intrepid, relentless um, in doing this. And no amount of loneliness, no amount of social, sort of prickliness should deter or, phase us. So thank you so much for having me. And I can't even begin to tell you how amazing it was to have this conversation with both of you.
It's just like we're just echoing each other's sentiments, because thank you, Smriti, for coming. Thank you for just being so candid, so honest. I can't even tell where the time went. To our listeners who were with us on this episode, we hope you will also take back from this conversation as much as the three of us did. We will be back next to next Thursday with our new episode, so please do make sure that you tune in. And once again, thank you so much for listening.